Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Hopeful Ballistics.
Happy New Year.
Welcome to the Reloading Weatherby podcast. And in today's video, we're going to talk about if we could only pick one cartridge. And first off, just so this video isn't clickbait, let's just go ahead and name if we could only hunt with one cartridge. I think we both agree which one it is and what caliber. But I'm going to say 30-06 if you can only pick one caliber to hunt with ever.
That would definitely work, yeah.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, we want to deep dive a little more into if we could only pick one. But this time we're going to say if we could only pick one in a certain caliber. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do this as quick as possible. But we're going to go through 14 different calibers from 17 caliber all the way up to 416. And we're just going to pick our favorite of what we would pick in that caliber. And Hopeful Ballistics, used to be Hopeful Remnant. You're going to go ahead and go first. So what's your pick for 17?
17 Hornet. So I'm a huge fan of the 22 Hornet. But if you look at the case, it's as antiquated as it gets. And then I think the 17 Hornet is a pretty cool upgrade to that case. And of course, making it down to 17 caliber. I don't have one, but I would like to have one day.
Okay. My pick is the 17 HMR. It's the only one I've ever shot. So I think it's cool. You're shooting like a 17 grain bullet at 2,500 feet per second. And it kicks it kicks about the same as a 22 long rifle. So that's my pick for 17 caliber. Let's move on to 20 caliber.
Well, speaking of the only one you've ever shot, the only 20 caliber I've ever shot or saw is a 204 Ruger. I do own one, and I like it in every way. 222 Remington Magnum neck down. It's a velocity beast, and it would be my pick.
So the only 20 caliber I've ever shot is the 204 Ruger as well. So that's going to be my pick. That would probably be my preferred like varmint cartridge. You're just getting almost 22 250 Remington velocities, and it's just a little laser beam. So I think that would be my pick. Let's move on to 22 caliber.
A lot of good ones here, but I'm going to have to go with the 22 250. I have the most experience with it. It is the fastest, and I have actually killed game with it, or varmints with it. So I will pick that.
Okay, so my 22 caliber, I mean, the logical choice would be the 22 250, but since I picked the 204 Ruger, I'm going to go with 223 Remington or 5.56. The versatility and the rifles you can shoot it in, and just all the things you can do in a 223. Yeah, it's not as fast as a 22 250, but I don't think I need it. So it's still plenty good for a varmint cartridge.
24 caliber, it's tough when I really like the 6mm Creedmoor, but I'll have to go with the 243 Winchester. The last couple of years, I've done a lot of hand loading for it, and I just get more impressed every time on the versatility of it. So I'm a big 243 fan.
I own a 243, but for 6mm, I'm going to be honest with you, Hopeful Ballistics, I don't care about 6mm at all. And so if using a 6mm as a hunting cartridge, well, I wouldn't. I'd just use a bigger caliber, like I'm going to mention soon. So I'm going to pick kind of a curveball. I'm going to pick 6mm Creedmoor. It is a darn good long distance cartridge. So if I'm going to do some long distance shooting, for like target shooting, I'm picking 6mm Creedmoor. I know, surprise, surprise. I picked a Creedmoor cartridge, but that's it for 6mm for me.
The thing about the 25 caliber is with the twist rates, you're not going to get very heavy per caliber bullets. So it's all about flat trajectory and speed. And so my favorite has always been the 257 Weatherby.
There you go. Well, I'm sure you can guess which mine's going to be. Let me see if I can show you. This guy, if it will show up, the 257 Weatherby mag. Yep, the 25 caliber is they're all kind of relying on just high velocity other than 257 Roberts. But It's just the cartridge that's hitting well above its weight, right? So like the 257 Weatherby, it's got more energy than a 270 Winchester and a 308 Winchester. That's just how fast it is. So obviously, I'm going to pick the 257 Weatherby. Let's move on to my least favorite caliber, 6.5.
One of my favorite calibers, 6.5 284 Norma is my pick. If you like the Creedmoor, it does what the Creedmoor does, but in my opinion, better in every way. With more velocity, would be better for hunting. It's not quite as fast as some of the bigger ones like the 264 Winchester or the 6.5 PRC, but its barrel life's going to be a little bit better. So to me, it's a good balance point.
There's always those phrases like if you're going to text someone, you're in real big danger. If I was going to text you or text any of you on my channel, it'd be like, I just bought a 6.5 cartridge. Okay. Then you know something is completely wrong with me. With that being said, it's going to be the 6.5 300 Weatherby. If I'm got to get a 6.5, I'm going to get the fastest one, and I'm going to get the flattest shooting cartridge, factory cartridge in the world, which is the 6.5 300 Weatherby. Okay, let's move on to a pretty useless caliber. I'm just kidding. We're going to move on to 270, and go ahead.
This is an easy one for me. In the last couple of years, well, the last year, I've been shooting a lot of 270 Winchester Short Magnum, and I'm falling in love with it. To me, it's just a better version of the 270. I know that'll get some hate, but the 270 is awesome. The new 6.8 Western is awesome too, but I think that 270 Short Mag is my favorite.
Okay. Not surprised by your pick since you bought a 270 WSM. This one's hard. I don't really have a favorite, so I'm going to go with the one I bought, a 270 Winchester. Now, I've specifically told you in the past, even in videos, that I pick a 27 Nosler, but I guess I'm kind of wish-washy on this subject. So I go with the 270 Winchester. And the reason I picked that one is really the reason I got the rifle was so that I could have my son go elk hunting. I feel like it is a really good balance of power and not too much recoil, especially for a youth hunter. So that's why I went with the 270. Let's get into the 7mm. I know this is kind of the hot caliber right now. So what's your pick?
This is a tough one. I kind of jump around. I'm wish-washy on this caliber. I love the 7mm 08. I'm becoming a pretty big fan of the 7mm PRC. I love the 284, but I'm going to have to go with a 280 Ackley Improved. It just ticks all the right boxes for me. It's just, in my opinion, the best all around for what I would actually use it for. So that would be my pick.
Awesome. My preferred 7mm is going to be the exact same as you, 280 AI. So how I see it is I would get a 280 AI in a really light mountain rifle. It's kind of this futuristic looking cartridge, and so I want a very modern rifle in it where I could take it anywhere, and it being extremely light. It's got plenty of power. I just think it's a really cool cartridge, and don't tell my wife, but that's definitely my next rifle will be in 280 AI. It's caliber a lot, but let's go on. Let's do this 30 caliber.
I love the 308. I love the 300 Short Mag, but this is an easy one for me. It's a 30-06. It's
Over the 308.
Still, yeah.
Okay.
Now for whitetail deer hunting, my go-to is a 308, but just an overall cartridge in one caliber. The 30-06 is so versatile, and it's, in my opinion, just as effective today in 2023 as the day it was made. Probably more effective with modern day components and all that. So easy pick for me.
You're gonna have no surprise anyone I picked. 300 Weatherby mag. It's just so darn good. Yeah, it's got some recoil, but when you have 4,300 foot-pounds of energy, and the thing is a laser beam, and I can push a 200 grain bullet over 3,100 feet per second. That's some pretty darn good medicine for just about everything. especially North America. I would not feel undergunned anywhere in North America. And so for me, that is about the perfect caliber cartridge, excuse me, for me. Let's move on to the dead caliber that no one really cares about, but Hopeful Ballistics was like, hey, we got to talk about the 8mm. So here we are.
I know the least about the 8mm. There are some decent ones out there. I like the 325 short mag.
Oh, of
And the
course.
more I've looked at it, the more I think that that's a pretty cool cartridge. I'm not saying I would ever get one, but if I were to get an 8mm, that would definitely be the one I'd get.
Okay. I will probably never get an 8mm unless I was able to get like a legit Car 98K. I do like my history. So with that in mind, I think my favorite is 8mm Mauser. It's very close to 30-06 performance. You're shooting bullets that are very similar, 150 to like 200 grain, and it's just a tad bit slower. So I like the 8mm Mauser. 338. I'm curious to what you pick here.
338 Weatherby RPM.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a
the three.
curveball.
Yeah,
That's a curveball.
I just, I don't know. I just, I don't have really any experience with 338s. I've never hunted where I needed one, but when I look at all of them, I just think that one is the best design overall. It's kind of like the 6.5 It's a good balance point. It's not going to be the biggest, the baddest, but I just think overall that is my favorite. I'm of course a big fan of the 284 cartridge, which is where that came from. So that is my pick.
Cool. I think that's a pretty decent cartridge. But if I'm going to get a 338, that's not the Weatherby I'm going to get. Um, my pick would be, and this is one of my dream rifles and cartridges, is the 340 Weatherby Magnum. Ballistically, it's right there with the 338 Lapua, and it's just a powerhouse. I talked about saying, oh, I wouldn't feel like undergunned at all anywhere in North America. But if I'm going to go to Alaska, Canada, I think my preferred cartridge would be 340 Weatherby for brown bear. So let's move on to 35 caliber. This is kind of a forgotten caliber, and I have a little soft spot for a certain one, but let's hear your pick.
Okay, so overall, I'm all about efficient, well-balanced cartridges. Once you get to 35 caliber, there, in my opinion, that's out the window. I mean, there are some like a 358 Federal, or no, 358 Winchester that you could consider to be efficient, but from here on out, the last three, efficiency means nothing. If I want a cartridge in this caliber, I want some speed, some power. It's going to be for hunting huge animals. And so I'm going to go with one you might not have thought of, 358 Shooting Times Alaska.
Now, is
It's
that
an
technically a Wildcat cartridge?
no A Square, before they went out of business, had that same spec. So it technically is a standardized cartridge. It's super rare. You'd have to build a custom rifle, but it is standardized.
Hmm.
So it's just an 8mm Remington Magnum, necked up to 358. However, it has a 35-degree shoulder angle, and I think it's got less taper. It's a beast though, and so when I think of that full length 375 H&H case, that's my favorite one of all of them.
That is definitely different than what I was expecting. And I'm going to kind of pull a fast one on you. I'm going to go efficient. You mentioned that they weren't very efficient, but I think the 35 Whelen is one of the most efficient versions of a 30-06 case. Am I wrong?
I almost went with that.
Okay.
That was I
Okay.
just kind of have a soft spot for
I
that.
mean, the 35 Whelen is just kind of coming back strong. It's extremely beloved in the South, and I just kind of want one just to have one. I don't know if I'd hunt with it. I mean, it's certainly, you could hunt elk, deer, moose. It's got the power. But, I love the 30-06 case, and so I think I'm going 35 Whelen on that one. Two left. Let's do the 375.
All right, so I went with a big Magnum. I'm going to go with an even bigger Magnum. but instead of being based on the H&H, this is based on the 404 Jeffries 375 Remington Ultramag. I'm personally not a big fan of a super overboard cartridge like a 3378 Weatherby. Just to get that extra speed, the bigger the case gets, the more powder, the bigger the bullet should be. So when I think of that rum case, I think the 375 is perfect for it. Now, do I plan on getting one? No. But if I was serious about hunting African dangerous game, I think that's what I would go with.
For 375, that's just one pick. It's easy for me. It's 378 Weatherby mag. So it's the most powerful 375 by far and far. And that would be my one pick if I had to go to, if I got to go to Africa. Someone's forcing me to go hunt in Africa. Okay. I'm going to go with the 378 Weatherby. Last caliber. We're going with 416.
All right, so I've been getting bigger and bigger, and I'm going to get even bigger. And speaking of the 378 case, 416 Weatherby, it's even bigger than the rum case. It's a necked up 378 Weatherby. It's basically going back to where it came from. All the 378s came from the Rigby, so it's just a better version of the 416 Rigby. I don't foresee myself ever getting one or wanting one, but if I was going to go up to 416, I might as well get the biggest case besides like a 50 BMG, and that is what I would go with.
Speaking of 50 BMG, I'm just going to go big with this 416. I'm not even going to try to hunt with a 416 caliber. I've got if hypothetically I'm going to hunt with the 378 Weatherby, I'm going 416 Barrett. Which is basically like a shortened 50 BMG, neck down to 416, extremely good long range target. So if I was ever going to do some ELR shooting, that would be probably the caliber I pick is 416 Barrett. But thanks so much, Hopeful Ballistics, for coming on. And I hope everyone has a wonderful new year. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to Hopeful Ballistics. He's really close to 1,000 subscribers. And he makes some awesome content. But anyway, if you like theorizing about cartridges and rifles, Hopeful Ballistics is your channel. So please go subscribe to him. Again, have a wonderful new year, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me on. Happy New Year, guys.